Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry for the little bit of a delayed start. I think we're blaming the rain. My name is Dr. Shireen Gabriel, and I'm the Dean of the Rutgers Robert Wood Johnson Medical School. And this is the 25th anniversary of the first white coat ceremony. So the whole idea of the ceremony was conceived, as I think many of you know, by the Arnold P. Gold Foundation back in 1993. And our school was one of a small handful of medical schools nationally to hold a white coat ceremony just the following year. And we're very, very proud to have that long association and that long history with the Arnold P. Gold Foundation. So in addition, this is only the second time we're holding the ceremony right here at the State Theater, and it's actually very cool because you all who will receive your white coats, you're receiving your white coats on the very same stage as you will accept your diploma just a few years hence. The path to that diploma begins today. So I encourage you, throughout your medical education, those important days and months and nights and years ahead, the time between, we like to think of it, between your coating and your hooding, to be confident of one thing all the time. The deans, the faculty, the staff, and the students at your medical school are truly outstanding and will support you in your quest to become exemplary physicians. As you don your white coat for the very first time today, please understand that this coat represents the respect that you have for yourselves, for others, and for our noble profession of medicine. I ask you to remember that each and every time you place it on your shoulders, today, 5 years from now, 10 years, or even 50 years from today. Of course, today's wonderful ceremony is really not just about the coats and the symbolism that they represent. It's really about you, the person who dons the coat. It's a celebration of your joining our noble profession as a medical student. So I want to take this opportunity to thank our white coat ceremony coordinators, Farsha Rizwan and Anup Regunthan. I knew I would make that mistake. The orientation coordinators, Ashley Landesman, Daniel Reyes, and Daphne Noel. The student handbook coordinators, Shane Nybart and Becky Addo. The housing coordinators, Mariah McKevitt and Parth Patel. The peer mentor directors, Josh Rochelle and Viraj Kitani, as well as all the peer mentors and all of the students who've worked so hard to make Orientation Week such a great success. Let's give them all a hand, please. Love it. I'm honored to welcome Rutgers University board members Michael Toasto, Kate Sweeney, Dr. Carol Sampson-Landers, who I'm proud to say is our alumna, and Dr. Claude White. It's my pleasure to recognize my colleagues, Maureen Bueno, who I thought was supposed to be here, who's not only a wonderful colleague, but also a mom today, right? There's a student, oh, there, I think I see a hand waving. Senior Vice President of Organizational Effectiveness, and Dr. Josh Brashad, Senior Vice President and Chief Medical Officer. Both are leaders at our partner institution, Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital, an RWJ Barnabas Health facility. And just last week, Robert Wood Johnson Medical School and all of Rutgers Health took a major step forward through a new affiliation agreement with Robert Wood Johnson Barnabas Health. And we're excited and looking forward to an even stronger and more integrated future together. I would like to welcome my friend and colleague, Dr. Joe Barone, Professor and Dean of the Ernest Mario School of Pharmacy at Rutgers. I would also like to acknowledge and thank Rutgers Biomedical and Health Sciences Chancellor Brian Strom. Dr. Strom is not able to attend today, but he sends his best wishes and looks forward to meeting all of you at upcoming events. And I'm delighted to welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Anil Nanda. Dr. Nanda joined us in July, and we're very excited to have him here as professor and chair of the Department of Neurosurgery, both at Robert Wood Johnson Medical School and New Jersey Medical School. And he is also Senior Vice President of Neurological Services at RWJ Barnabas Health. So he's got quite a handful there. You will hear from Dr. Nanda shortly, and I've had a little bit of a preview, and you're in for quite a treat. I'd also like to thank Sandy Rai, co-president of the Association of Families and Friends, who is with us this afternoon, as well as the Arnold P. Gold Foundation for its ongoing support. Also in attendance today are many department chairs and faculty members interspersed among you, and here to welcome you, the class of 2022, to our medical school. I thank them for their contributions to our success. And of course, I offer a very warm welcome to all of you in the audience, the parents, the spouses, the friends, the family members of the class of 2022. You too are to be congratulated for the support and encouragement that was so important to bringing your student to this point in their education. I always want to thank the parents and friends as well. So as I reflected on today's ceremony, the importance of diversity immediately came to mind. And that's because you are the most diverse class in the school's history. And that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot because diversity is a hallmark, one of the hallmarks of our school. And that diversity pertains not only to cultural and ethnic diversity, but also diversity of disciplines and experiences in your backgrounds. The late Maya Angelou said, "It's time to teach young people early on that in diversity there is beauty and there is strength." And as I look at the composition in this class, I see beauty and strength. You hail from across the globe. 33 of you came from 18 countries outside the US. 150 of you speak at least 2 languages, and the statistics just go on and on. The rich diversity that you bring brings great value to us. So I encourage you to share your background and experiences with one another at every opportunity so that we may all be enriched by them. You've now spent one whole week together becoming oriented to medical school. You're an incredible and multifaceted group of individuals with a shared goal, a single shared goal, to embark on your medical education to earn your medical degree. And I suggest to you today that this class is kind of like a tapestry in the making, right? With each single thread having its own beauty, its own value, its own purpose, but altogether you can achieve greater beauty and greater strength than anyone can accomplish alone. And I like to think that this is the beauty and strength that Maya Angelou referred to, that we're so much stronger and so much more beautiful, perhaps, together than any of us alone. Another pioneer when it comes to diversity is David Jones Peck, who, as some of you may know, was the first African American to earn a medical degree from a recognized United States medical school back in 1847, Rush Medical College. Unfortunately, Dr. Peck's medical practice didn't work out as he initially hoped, and that's because few doctors recognized his status after he got out of medical school, didn't get a lot of referrals or consultations, but he remained undeterred and continued to excel pursuing global health and other aspirations in medicine. And today he's widely respected as a pioneer in medicine who was unafraid to act on his dreams. Each of you brings your own hopes and your own dreams to this ceremony today. Those dreams are symbolized by the white coat that you will shortly be placed on your shoulders. I urge you to be as unafraid as Dr. David Jones Peck was in pursuit of your dreams and to work to fulfill your greatest potential. Much of that potential will be influenced by the experiences you bring to medical school. Not so long ago, for example, applicants who majored in humanities or social scientists were not considered top applicants for medical schools. However, now we know better. We appreciate that excellent physicians come from all walks of life, and this class is a perfect example of that. You bring a wealth of experiences and knowledge from your collegiate years, not only in the biomedical sciences, but in the social sciences and the humanities and languages and music and mathematics and much, much more. This diverse compilation of experiences also enriches your class tapestry. Elizabeth Blackwell, the first female physician, spoke of reaching potential, saying, "None of us can know what we are capable of until we are tested." And mark my words, you will be tested throughout your medical training and in your medical careers. But know that you're not alone on this journey. Remember, your classmates are your peers, they're your teammates, and so are the tremendous faculty and staff here at the medical school. Kofi Annan, a diplomat from Ghana and former UN Secretary General who won the Nobel Peace Prize back in 2001, and actually who, by the way, did his undergrad in good old Minnesota, where I was from, almost 20 miles from where I lived for 30 years. He has an often quoted African proverb, which is a favorite of mine also, and it says, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. Again, we are here for you, and we are on this journey together. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for being here. So it's now my pleasure to invite Dr. Carol Terragino, Senior Associate Dean of Education, to the podium. Dr. Terragino.
Just a few words from me. Dean Gabriel, Dr. Nanda, Associate and Assistant Deans, Chairs, Rutgers Board members, hospital leadership, faculty colleagues, family, friends, Gold Humanism Honor Society inductees, and entering class of 2018. It is such a privilege to welcome you today in my multiple roles as Admissions Dean and Senior Associate Dean for Education. As we spoke earlier this week, you are on the threshold of developing your professional identities. Now let's see what you learned this week. What are the 3 R's? Reflection, resilience, relationships. Very good, thank you. So as a partner, see, they're really smart, okay. So as a partner and a mentor in your journey, beginning with today, with the white coat, I share a thought. Value your relationships, both personal and professional. Sustain yourself with human interactions. Maintain your wellness. Remember the humanity in each patient encounter. Be in the moment. Connect. Look into the eyes of your patients. I wish for you to always feel joy in your profession and connected to all of your patients. And remember, there are so many levels on which we can connect with all of our patients, and that we are more than just medical students or physicians. We are individuals with many roles. We're daughters, husbands, sons, parents, siblings, artists, athletes, and we should use those pieces of ourselves to connect with our patients, to go beyond the white coat and connect as individuals, and now not allow that coat to be a barrier, and sometimes to even remove the white coat to honor the sacred trust of the profession. Good luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. I would now like to introduce Sandy Rye, co-president of the Robert Wood Johnson Medical School Association of Family and Friends. Dr. Rye.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Association of Family and Friends, I would like to congratulate and welcome the class of 2022. I promise I won't take too much of your time. We are already running late. However, I would like to take a few minutes to mention what AFF stands for. AFF is a nonprofit organization primarily created for the benefit of our students. 100% of the funds that we raise is used for to help the students. We supplement costs for students to travel abroad for outreach program during the summer and to present research papers at medical conferences. Provide financial support for our student organizations and student events such as Med Talks. We provide and maintain recreational equipment for the students. We also host events such as Family and Friends Day and the Orientation Barbecue. Our barbecue is this Sunday, August 5th, at the Piscataway campus. This will be your opportunity to meet some of the parent volunteers and also to purchase a Rutgers Robert Wood Johnson Medical School merchandise. We encourage and welcome parents, spouses, and loved ones of our students to join the AFF. We are a bunch of very nice people who work together to support our students. You will see us live in action at the barbecue. Our first meeting was on Monday, September 17, 2018. Our meetings are conducted under the guidance of Dr. Sonia Garcia-Lombard, Assistant Dean for Student Affairs. We thank her immensely for all her support to make this organization grow to new heights. Thank you. A special thanks to Dr. Meehan, Dean Terragino, Dean Gabriel, and Cynthia Ferrer-Cespedes and the Student Affairs Office for all their support to our students and for being involved in our events. If you have any questions about the AFF, please feel welcome to reach out to me or my co-chair, Renee Levin. You can also visit our website at the www.aff-rwjms.org. Your involvement and support is very much needed to continue and grow this organization. In the future, I hope to see one of you standing here and welcoming another incoming class. We look forward to meeting you all on Sunday. Once again, congratulations and welcome to the class of 2022. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sandy. I'd now like to introduce Farsha Rizwan and Anup Rigunathan, both second-year medical students and the student coordinators of this fabulous ceremony. So Farsha and Anup, welcome.
Distinguished guests, family, friends, and the incoming class of 2018, welcome. Before I continue, Farsha and I would like to thank the incredible individuals that have made this afternoon's ceremony possible. Chancellor Strom, Dean Gabriel, Dr. Terragino, Deans Lumbach and Meehan, Dr. Copeland, Ms. Patty Hansen, Ms. Lauren Marshall, and the team at Communications and Public Affairs, Ms. Cynthia Ferrer-Cespedes, the orientation team, the peer mentor coordinators, and the peer mentors. Thank you for your commitment to the incoming class. This ceremony would not have been possible without you.
Today marks the beginning of an eventful journey filled with experiences only unique to the medical field. You will be exploring the human body, face unmatched moral and ethical challenges, and of course, spend countless hours studying. There will be a lot of firsts in medical school that you won't expect. Holding a human heart in your hands for the first time, delivering the correct diagnosis based on symptoms you recognize, or comforting a patient in the hospital.
Today is the beginning of these firsts. As you sit in this hall, awaiting the moment you receive your white coats, take a short moment to look around you and appreciate the many faces present in this room. Whether it is family and friends, or mentors and professors that have come to share with you in this momentous occasion, they have congregated here in recognition of you, in recognition of your incredible perseverance and unyielding dedication to the medical profession. They will be the rocks upon which you build yourself as a physician, and they will be the ones that you turn to in your times of doubt and celebration alike. Hold and cherish these bonds as you go through the years, and they will reward you well.
Now, I'm all sure you've heard the popular opinions about the rigor of medical school. You have been told you may end up studying 24/7, memorize textbooks worth of information, and much more. Hopefully, our peer mentors have probably done a very amazing job of debunking these myths. While I cannot stand here and say that not all of these myths are entirely true or false, I can guarantee that you will be able to get through them. Statistically, you are at the top of the applicant pool, but more importantly, you hold the qualities that our school cherishes. You are able to be dedicated in your field, you persevere for your goals, and you have a passion strong enough to overcome any obstacle.
Now, I would like to speak a quote from Robert Wood Johnson I. The worst thing that can happen to a man is to lose his courage. These words would not be more applicable to medicine. Each day that you don that white coat, it takes a special courage to step into the shoes of a confident, strong physician that instills hope and symbolizes healing. And there will be many moments that you feel unready, moments when you will doubt your ability or your place in that coat. But, as a good friend of mine recently reminded me, you may not feel ready for that coat, but we know it is ready for you.
So with these words, welcome to Rutgers Robert Wood Johnson Medical School. Now, we would like to welcome Dr. Anil Nanda, who was appointed the chairs of the school's Joint Department of Neurosurgery on July 1st from both Rutgers Robert Wood Johnson Medical School and Rutgers New Jersey Medical School. In addition to his academic and clinical roles at Rutgers, Dr. Nanda serves as the Senior Vice President for Neurosurgical Services at RWJ Barnabas Health, affecting a transformational change in the provision of neurosurgical care throughout the health system and Rutgers Health as well.
Before joining Rutgers, Dr. Nanda was professor and founding chair of the Department of Neurosurgery at Louisiana State University for 27 years. Under his leadership, the department's reputation grew exponentially, becoming internationally known for its expertise and its residency training program, which launched in 2003. It is now the largest neurosurgery residency program in the state of Louisiana. Dr. Nanda was also instrumental in building the department's gamma knife, radiosurgery, and neuroendovascular programs. Dr. Nanda is an expert in several advanced neurosurgical techniques with more than 17,000 surgeries, 2,000 of which were performed for skull-based tumors and aneurysms, as well as vascular and spinal neurosurgery, including gamma knife radiosurgery. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Anil Nanda. Thank you.
The Archbishop of Canterbury once, when he had a very flattering introduction, he said, "Today I pray for two sinners, one who gave the introduction and for me because I enjoyed it." So, dear Rutgers board members, Dean Gabriel, Dr. Burchard, Maureen Buono, Dean Baroni, Ms. Rye, faculty, staff, students, family, and friends, it's a real honor to be here. This is a very momentous occasion, and I feel very flattered to be here. My wife allows me to crack Catholic jokes. I allow her to crack Hindu jokes, and we both crack Louisiana jokes. So y'all could get ready for this. So I'll tell you about Cardinal Connor. Cardinal Connor was a man of exquisite humanism in New York, and he has a wonderful life, and he passes away, and he goes up to the pearly gates, and St. Peter's there. He comes in all his regalia, and everybody's really excited to see him. And then he says, "Oh my God, there's a big line here." So he thought, I'll pop in, I'll be right there. So he stands in line, a couple of minutes go by, 10 minutes, 2 minutes, and finally it's 2 hours. And he's like, "Gee, I didn't do a great job, I don't know what's going on." And then he sees somebody come in a white coat and jump the line completely. So he tells St. Peter's, "What's going on? I mean, this guy, who is this doctor? How does he jump past all of us?" And he said, "Oh, ignore that. That's just God playing doctor." So I want to tell you that the white coat is very important. I think it's a wonderful time to be alive. So I think it's a great blessing to do what you're doing. But remember, the most important binary in life, my son tells me, "Dad, gender's not a binary anymore, it's a spectrum." The most important binary in life is you're alive, okay? Every day, 150,000 people die. There's tragedy, there's sorrow, but you're alive, and that's what you have to be grateful for. People like me have more yesterdays than tomorrow, but you have more tomorrows than yesterday, and that is something to rejoice of. When I was in school, the Bee Gees were playing. It was Staying Alive, little white coat, dancing. And now we got Kendrick Lamar getting the Pulitzer, which is wonderful. You know? And if you look at music, I mean, who would have thought when I was in med school that the biggest hotel company in the world, Airbnb, would have no hotel rooms? That the best taxi, the best successful cab company in the world, Uber, doesn't own any cars. So there's a changing world that all of us need to get used to. And as a student, and I look back when I think that one of the most important things you need to learn is rejection. You're going to get rejection, you're going to be disappointed, you're not going to get a good score on your grades, you're going to worry about this, but that's something you have to be resilient with. That's why I like the R's that you mentioned, the resilience. You know, our medical profession has a history of doing some bad things. In neurosurgery, we used to do lobotomies in the 1930s and 40s. Freeman and Watts would go in and do 25 lobotomies, mainly on women, put an ice pick in, and it was a shameful episode of medicine, okay? Then if you look during the World War II, what Dr. Mengele did with twins was horrific. And then you think of the Tuskegee experiments with African Americans on syphilis when they were not treated. So we have a history that's something we should be vigilant about. I just saw this movie, Three Identical Strangers. And this was an experiment done in the 80s and 90s with identical twins in New York City that were put in different socioeconomic families as a study. That's just morally egregious. And I would hope that your generation guards against those evils and handles rejection well. But then there's people like Dr. Mona Hanna-Attisha. She was a pediatrician in Flint, Michigan. One of you will be a pediatrician. She worked in Flint, and she's like, there's something wrong here with the water. And she saw 6,000 to 10,000 kids that they had high lead levels. The city had gone for cheaper water. The pipes were corroded. And I love what she says here. We don't care. She said, we don't care about Flint. She says, the state said that I was an unfortunate researcher, that I was causing near hysteria, that I was splicing and dicing the numbers. I hope you have the courage of her, because she really looked through all this. So what I'm trying to get at, you'll have rejection, you'll have triumph. But what will get you through is going to be equanimity. You know, William Osler, who I think is the father of medicine, I call him the Gandhi of medicine. He was just a kind human being. I think if he'd been a surgeon, our tribe, our surgeons would be a little better behaved because he was such a good person. But he talked about equanimitas. In his famous discourse in 1890 at the University of Pennsylvania graduates, he says, you must have equanimitas. And I would like to read to you, this is from Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, when he says, thou must be like a promontory of the sea, against which the waves beat continually, yet both it stands still, and the swelling waters are stilled and quieted. And this is in Kipling's poem, too, when he said, if you can meet triumph and disaster and treat both those impostors alike, you are a man. In my own culture, in the Upanishads, in Sanskrit, they say, ma bhaya ma sambhikta, neither daunted in defeat nor triumphant in victory. So that equanimity is something I hope you have and you develop, because that becomes a cornerstone of medicine. And what is that compassion? Osler is a very famous instance of Osler. Osler is like the god of medicine. He's at Toronto, he comes to Penn, then he's at Hopkins, and he becomes the Regius Professor at Oxford. So he's the Regius Professor at Oxford, and he goes and gives a talk in Somerset, England, and a woman comes up to him and says, are you Dr. Osler? He says, yes. He says, were you in Toronto 40 years ago? He says, yes, I was in Toronto 40 years. She reminisced about her brother. Her brother had been in Toronto. Osler knew him. He gets typhoid, he dies, okay? Osler read him the 43rd Psalm of Isaiah, but what Osler did was, he wrote a letter to his parents and said, I want you to know that your son had a very dignified passing away, that I quoted scriptures for him, he got through this thing, and no parent should hear news of their child like that. But he wrote that letter. It was an act of kindness, it was an act of compassion, and that's what defines us. Cardinal Keynote is one of the Boston theologians. He defines compassion and mercy entering into the anarchy of others. That is the gift you wear with the white coat, that you can enter into the anarchy of others. And every culture has that. If you look at the Chinese culture, Guanyin is a bodhisattva who's defined by compassion. In Sanskrit, compassion is karuna. And then if you look at the opening words of the Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and they say, God the merciful, God the compassionate. So that's the compassion you want to develop and have that sense of kindness that you can develop. And you can see it in ordinary studies. There was a study in Israel where they looked at x-rays, and if they showed the x-ray, they picked up the findings. But if they put a picture of that person with the x-ray, the rate of the veracity of the readings went up by 15%. That's compassion in action. And I hope you develop that because that becomes really, really important. I want to talk a little bit about hubris. Hubris is something that we will develop as surgeons or physicians, and it's something that you want to be really humble about. Ambrose Paré was the great surgeon who developed surgery, and he had a very simple epithet on his grave. He said, Je le pensais du la guérir. I did the dressing, and God did the healing. And that sense of equanimity and humility makes us who we are. Francis Collins was at the NIH, and he was a very distinguished scientist. He handled all the nation's funding. He went on a trip to Africa with his daughter on a mission trip in a remote part of Nigeria. And he's out there, and he's like, what am I doing here? And so he does all this stuff, and then suddenly he sees a patient with a massive pericardial effusion. It's got big fluid in the heart. He's never done this procedure. So he goes, reads his textbook, he puts his syringe into the heart, takes out like a liter of fluid. This man who was dying, was gasping for breath. Suddenly he's like Lazarus, he wakes up, he looks really good. But he's not happy about this, and he sort of waits a couple of days. Well, this man comes back. He says, well, this is tuberculosis, he may not survive. And I want to read to you what he says, and it kind of echoes with Dean about diversity. He says, but then this young Nigerian farmer, just about as different from me in culture, experience, his ancestry, as two humans could be, spoke the words that will forever be emblazoned in my mind. The guy asked Dr. Collins, I get the sense you're wondering why you came here. He says, I have an answer for you. You came here for one reason. You came here for me. When you wear that white coat, every time you see somebody, you should remember you came for that person. In Africa, there were wonderful lines, Ubuntu, I am, so we are. And I think that echoes very well to our profession and what we stand for and what's important. The thing that I want to talk a little bit to can all the family members raise your hands here? Because they deserve a great applause, yeah. So my advice to the families is, I had a wonderful Baptist friend in Louisiana. He used to always say, it comes down to three things in life: faith, family, and friends. I want to tell the families that the physician burnout is a real issue, okay? Physician burnout today is 41%. We need families to be more involved. Whether you meditate, you do yoga, or you ice sculpt, whatever you do, you got to have some time for yourself. You can take care of other people, but you don't have time for yourself, it's not good. So this is a serious concern, and that's why I'm enlisting families, that you really need to be involved with this so you can help us make that come down. I'm just going to end with two things. Calvin Trillin used to write for The New Yorker, and his wife Alice Trillin used to volunteer in Mississippi at this disabled camp. So she would go down there, and this woman, this young girl who was probably 16, had two genetic disorders. One, she had something with her muscles, so she was wheelchair bound. And the other thing was she had some gastrointestinal problems, so she had a tube to be fed in. But the one thing about this girl was she was luminously happy. She just looked happy all the time. And Alice Trillin was completely, so this girl's always happy, look at her disabilities. So one day she did an act that was probably not nice. She said, I'm gonna look at her mail. So she opens the letter, and it's from her parents. And you know what the parents write to her? If we could pick a child from all the billions of children on this planet, we would still pick you to be our daughter. That's caritas. That's love. That's what gets all of us through. And that's the humanity of what we do. And I'll sort of share my experience. I was a resident at Philadelphia. Chief residents tend to be a little arrogant sometimes, get a little cocky. So I was operating on somebody who was a Rastafarian, he hadn't showered, it was a big subdural, he was in a coma, he had drugs on board. And I sort of did the procedure well. I thought I had a good job. I thought the case was not good, wouldn't be a good clinical response. So I went down, and I was probably a little detached with the mother. And I told her, well, we did this. And then she told me something that I remember as though it happened yesterday. And she says, you really don't know what this means to me, do you? And it was like an ice pick going through my heart. And then I realized in that moment that she loved her son just like my mother loved me and like your mother loves you. And that's the exquisite humanity of what we do. It is such a privilege to do that, and you should never forget that privilege. So my advice is, you're going to get burned out, read poetry. I've always found poetry to be uplifting. I know you mentioned Maya Angelou. I was blessed once to meet her, and all I asked her to say, and still I rise. And I said I could have died, because she said, and still I rise, you know. So I like this poem by Mary Oliver. It says, I walk out into the world to be dazzled, then to be reflective. And I hope all of you walk out with your lab coats to be dazzled and to be reflective, and realize what a great privilege this is, what a wonderful job this is. I still can't believe they pay me to do what I do. I just think this is such a privilege. In the end, I would say healing is an art, medicine is a science, and healthcare a business. And your generation will make this happen, that inequalities in healthcare will be changed forever, that we will have healthcare for everybody. And as graduates of Rutgers, I think you will paint the planet scarlet. Be it global health, be it sub-Saharan Africa, I think you'll do a great job. It's an honor and privilege to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anil. Now you all know why we were so excited to have Dr. Nanda join us. So I would now like to introduce Dr. Dan Meehan and Dr. Sonia Garcia-Lombach, Assistant Deans for Student Affairs, and Dr. Dalia Shevitz, Assistant Dean for the Clinical Learning Environment, who together will recognize the students for induction into the Gold Humanism Honor Society.
Good afternoon. It is our distinct honor and pleasure to be able to introduce you to the students from the class of 2019 who have been selected for induction into the Gold Humanism Honor Society. Robert Wood Johnson Medical School has long been a pioneer among medical schools in humanism programs. As Dean Gabriel had mentioned earlier, after Columbia held the first ever white coat ceremony in 1993, Robert Wood Johnson Medical School was one of just a couple medical schools to follow with their own white coat ceremony the very next year. Several years after that, a group of deans, medical educators, and experts in assessment were convened to explore the viability of an honor society to promote humanistic values and behaviors and to transform the culture of medicine. They were responding to the desire of medical educators and residency program directors to have a mechanism for identifying applicants for internship and residency who had both outstanding clinical and interpersonal skills. The result of this exploration was the birth of the Gold Humanism Honor Society, born right here at our medical school. Today, over 150 schools have Gold Humanism Honor Society chapters. So these students are truly special. They were nominated by peers who repeatedly identified them on a survey instrument that asked questions like, which classmate would you want as an MD for yourself or a loved one? Which classmate would you most like to have work by your side as a team member? They were nominated by faculty who singled them out from among their peers for their humanistic interactions in all avenues. And ultimately, they were selected by a committee that considered all nominations and was charged with welcoming no more than 15% of the class to join the society. So as I said, they're truly special. Our recently selected students will be formally inducted into the Gold Humanism Honor Society later this year, but we invite them to join us today to emphasize the value we place on humanistic care and professionalism throughout the curriculum, and to serve as role models for our incoming students. I ask that each student come to the stage when their name is called so we can recognize them and honor their selection. First, I'd like to read the names of students who were unable to join us today as fourth-year students. Many are away at conferences, a few are pursuing MPHs, and a few are doing away rotations. Those students are Lauren Adams, Alessandro Angelino, Bridget Finlay, Joshua Gillens, Joanna Kinney, Richard Lang, Emmanuel Martinez, Heather McGowan, Benedict Osorio, Shipper Rai, Greta Snyder, Caroline Shang, Anita Sridhar, Rebecca Temkin, Aisha Van Pratt-Levin, and Benjamin Van Pratt-Levin. So a hand for all those who couldn't be here with us. And for those who are here joining us today, Omowunmi Adedeji. Fernando Arias. Christopher Bargood. Douglas Farrell. Tori Gartman. Travis Kling. Kevin Combe. Sanjay Kumar. Thomas Koryakos. Michelle Linke. Tarika Mahal. Ajan Sivaramamurthy. And Bo Tang. So congratulations to all our inductees, and one last round of applause.
Congratulations to you all. And thank you, Dan, Sonia, and Dahlia. I'd now like to ask Dr. Terragino to introduce the class of 2022.
I really do have the best job here. So I get to call the names, but I also get to work with an amazing group of deans in the Office of Education, and these are the deans that are responsible for undergraduate medical education for medical students. So I'll begin with Dr. Joyce Afrin, who is the Assistant Dean for our new regional medical campus in Somerset. Dr. Janice Cato-Varlak, she is the brand new Assistant Dean for Student and Multicultural Affairs, just named a couple of days ago. And you'll all always remember Dr. Dahlia Shevitt's talk from this morning, our Assistant Dean for the Clinical Learning Environment. And Dr. Sonia Garcia-Lombach, Assistant Dean for Student Affairs. Dr. Daniel Meehan, also Assistant Dean for Student Affairs. And Dr. Archana Pradhan, Associate Dean for the Clinical Learning Environment. Oh, for clinical education. Okay, so let me give you guys some instructions. Well, the first row, please rise and approach the stairway, and then you can come up the stairs when I call your name. Follow directions. Okay, and we'll be bringing you up in groups of 6 at a time. Ready? Think you're ready? Okay. Natalie Adam. Adedayo Adepoju. Opaposi Adetunji. Blessing Ajayi. Sabrina Anessa Alexander. Shahir Ali. We'll get this right. Nicole Joan Altamari. Gabriela Alvim DePola. Denise Amarilla. Ngozi Anameje. Brian Anwanyu. Mary Aziz. Svetlana Bogdasarov. Tina Bolakrishna. Hassan Bashir. Hannah Bava. Sebastian Eric Bellotti. Rendell Bernabe. Kristen Troutman Blackledge. Shari Badowski. Alejandra Bolanos. Thomas Buchek. Brian Bueno. Fernando Camacho Garcia. Jonathan Carcione, Wilfrido Castillo, Vanessa Cedarbaum, Amog Chandupatla, Alexander Chen, Vivian Chen, Rachel Christensen, Michael Charamella, Elizabeth Cohen, Corinne Corbett, Melissa Coward, Madeline Dahl. Mark Danilla, Terry Darcy, Pooja Desai, Ruchi Desai, Caitlin Dixon, Michael DiGaetano, Stephanie Dew, Ashani Dixit, Jefferson Abube, Andrew Yosri Agladios, Samantha Alfanageli, Yasmin Hossam Elfara, Jared Escobar, Ray Allen Espinosa, Alexis Danielle Etheridge, Christina Fakus, Angela Fan, Maria Gabrielle Fencer, Hallie Fitzgerald, Ralph Foglia III, Nicole Fosco, Robert Freeman, Kelly Gao, Amode George. Elena Dina Georges. Joel Goldschlag. Dan Goland. Simonoj Guntaka. Azim Haider. Samantha Daisy Hansels. Thomas Hanlon. Natalie Hassel. Jack Hayes. Christine Hill. Jason Ho. Tiffany Ho. Kristen Hung. Eileen Hugh. Vivian Hu. Chewan Wang. Daniel Idahosa. Oluwadamilola Ilasami. Narina Imam. Hezbon Izaboke. Jane Jacob. Brian Connor Jacobs. Kavita Jane. Emmeline Ja. Nyasia Monet Jones. Robert Camille. Nicole Jacqueline Couture. Joshua Bradley Katz. Ishan Kaul. Jonathan Koptiev. Janil Katari. Abba Kulkarni. Simon Katilla. Michael Leana. Brian Lay. Grace Lee. Philip Lena. Zev Leopold. Jeremy Lessing. Jiazhen Li. Allison Liang. Kelvin Liao. Heejin Lim. Nicole Lorenzi. Joyce Liu. Cedric Magaway. Bethany Rose Mancuso. Roger Samuel Martinez Vargas. Georgie Varghese Matthew. Kristen Tamara Amanda Mayers. Eileen Veronica McCauley. Lauren McNaughton. Shirag Mehta. Carlos Mendoza. Mark Magdi McHale. Catherine Joan Morris. Patricia Moskiki. Caroline Munoz Barrero. Matthew Hakeem Nazra. Jonathan William Naza. Julia Nelson. Dylan Nguyen. Anna Niramand. Suraj Nailakonda. Dale Umen. Uchenna Orji. Vanessa Ortiz. Samantha Willette. Julia Palecki. Yesha Parek. Amy Parikh. Harsh Patel. Keshav Patel. Krusang Patel. Rachel Patel. Pooja Patnaik. Michael Plowinski. Richard Polo. Connor Rademacher. Rahul Ramasubramani. Deep Rowley. Leica Reddy. Henry Resnikoff. And Matthew Rexroad. Paul Vincent Romeo. Brenda Yamilet Romero. Josh Rowe. Marlena Elodie Sabatino. Lauren Salguero. Christopher Samuel. Patrick Anthony Solino. Mark Sherman. Alexandra Schmidt. Cameron Schmidt. Talia Sarah Schwartz. Ajayi Scott Robinson. Mahika Shah. Jake Siebert. Michael Simon. Surjanhar Singh. Moshe Spatz. Michael Sunyak. Sapna Sial. Ray Tarapur. Nahali Tucker. Erin Sophia Tolles. Karen Ninochka Torres Soto. Ijama Chidama Unachuku. Ranjita Vasa. Mason Villalonga. Stephanie Vicari. Seichi Villalonga. Ashley Vincent. Neha Wadhavkar. Andrew Walrand. Vaishnavi Warrior. Jacqueline Watkins. Matthew Weintraub. Jacqueline Wold. Helen Shea. Shea. Okay. You guys are the last ones, huh? Rachel Ellen Yan. Nicole Yoon. Sho Yoshitake. Katarzyna Zembruska. Cynthia Zhang.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Terragino, and all of the coders. I would now like to ask the students and all of the physicians present on the stage and in the audience to refer to their programs, rise, and recite the Oath of Hippocrates in unison. I do solemnly swear by that which I hold most sacred. All right. That I will be loyal to the profession of medicine and just and generous to its members. That I will lead my life and practice my art in uprightness and honor. That into whatsoever house I shall enter, it shall be for the good of the sick, to the utmost of my power. Holding myself far aloof from wrong, from corruption, from the tempting of others to vice. that I will exercise my art solely for the cure of my patients and to give no drug, perform no operations for a criminal purpose, even if solicited, far less suggested. That whatsoever I shall see or hear of the lives of my patients, which is not fitting to be spoken, I will keep inviolably secret. Now, if I keep this oath and break it not, may I enjoy honor in my life and art for all time. Thank you. Let's have one more round of applause for the class of 2022. Standing ovation, it looks like. So, thank you all. Thank you all for attending today's ceremony, and we look forward to seeing you at many, many memorable and inspiring events throughout the next 4 years. So I ask that everyone wait to leave until the students have finished exiting. Congratulations and have a great day. Stay dry out there.